appreciate everything that they're doing to talk about these issues. And I hope you appreciate hearing from them. I'd like to welcome them down here. So please welcome Lucy McBeth and Ron Davis.
Thank you for that, St. Louis. Welcome. Thank you all for coming out, making that decision to come out. I'm Jordan Davis' father, Ron Davis. They call me the unfiltered Ron Davis because I make people uncomfortable. And this is Mother Lucy. Give her a hand. I just want to say there's some things I want to clear up in the film. You know, we can go through everything in the film. One of the things is, one of Lucy's pet peeves is that they kind of show the fiance of Michael Dunn as kind of being something like a heroine, I guess. But she really did it out of fear of herself being arrested. You know, because, you know, she couldn't perjure herself after she had a deposition, and she told the police initially that he never told her that they had guns. So I don't want you to think that she was so, you know, heroic in that sense. She really wasn't. Michael Dunn was, there's a lot of Michael Dunns out here in this world. And that's what the shame is, and I think that's what's causing a lot of the racism in the world. And I tell people there's such a huge difference between white Americans and white supremacists. White supremacists want the good old days. The good old days when there were African Americans hanging from trees called strange fruit. They want the good old days where the Confederate flag and the burning of the cross was hip. And so I tell people, especially white people that are in the audience, we need you to touch people that only you can touch. Ron and Lucy and people like Michael Brown cannot touch a lot of people that you can touch. You know, your church groups, sometimes you're around in someone's house and there's no African Americans, and sometimes you have frank conversations about what's happening when we are not around. And so through this film, I want you to look and remember this film and take action. And when you hear the racial biases coming up, that's when you have a call to action. That's when you can sit back and say, you know what, this is wrong. Because the only thing that's going to root out racism in this country is everybody, white Americans, black Americans, Asian Americans, Native Americans, all speaking out and said, let's stop discrimination.
I know that many of you in this room were aware of our trial and everything that happened with Jordan's murder. And first and foremost, I always want to say thank you. Thank you so very much for the prayers that you prayed over our family and prayed for us. Thank you for the support that you've continued to give us throughout the country. I always talk about what we see happening in our case and across the country in a moral sense. For me, as you can see, a woman of deep moral faith, this is a moral crisis that we have in the country. With gun violence, implicit bias, and so that is the vehicle in which I choose the most to speak through. And I recognized very early on in gun violence, the gun violence culture, that was a missing link. That was a missing element of these discussions. I find it very, very appalling that Christians, people of faith in this country, can be the first to say we need to rise up and take arms, and we all need to be armed. And so my stance is taken with Moms Demand Action, which I see in the audience, which I'm the national spokesperson for. I act as her faith and community outreach leader. as well as a national spokesperson. And so I recognize that this is a moral dilemma that we have in the country with gun violence and implicit bias. I will always be the one to say that what we see happening in the country with gun violence is diametrically opposed to the Word of God. If we are a nation, one nation under God, then we are so ungodly. And we are acting in ways that our founding fathers never intended us to act and behave. The sad thing about it is that most of the Christians that I talk to in the country will say, well, it's my Second Amendment right to bear arms. If you truly understand what the Second Amendment means, it does not mean for every citizen in the United States to be carrying and bearing arms as their own vigilantes. It means basically back when the Second Amendment rights was created, that was so that the citizens then could protect themselves and create a militia, but not intended for individuals to carry their guns, assault rifles on the street, and based upon perceptions of fear. And oftentimes these are not even credible threats, but based upon perceptions of fear, shoot first and ask questions later. So yes, we are in a moral crisis. This is a national crisis. And what we hope that you glean from our film tonight is that you will begin to really take a look in your heart and find out if you have yourself any of these implicit biases, hidden biases, and how this plays into your moral faith, how it plays into your citizenship. Are we not to care for one another? Are we not to live in this country civilly without being in fear of being gunned down unrighteously? So that is my hope, that we will open for you an avenue to begin having these discussions in your homes, in your churches, in your synagogues, in your communities. But more importantly, and most importantly, move beyond the rallying and moving beyond the marching in the streets and begin to make your legislators accountable for enacting the laws, as expansive as they are, that allow these kinds of things to happen.
Now, I told you I was going to make you uncomfortable. So, here's a question for you. In regard to race, how many of us have a bias? Please raise your hand. And if everybody didn't raise your hand, let me prove it to you. When you go to a lunchroom, and if you're black, and most of the tables have white people in it, and you see a table with about 4 or 5 black people, do you go and drift toward that table if you're black?
Hell yeah.
Then you have a bias. Okay. If you go to the park and there's a basketball court, a bunch of black guys playing on one side, a bunch of white guys playing on the other side. If you're white, you go to the black side or the white side. You have a bias. There is nothing wrong with liking to be around people that look like you. There's nothing wrong with that. So I gotta ask that question again, how many of us have a bias in regard to race? See, you got more hands up. See, it's not racist to have a bias. It's racist when, because of that bias and because of the color of someone's skin, you do something negative to them because of that. That's racism. So it's okay. So understand, when you're at home and you have that bias, don't feel like, oh my God, why did I do that? It's okay. It's only natural to be around people that not only look like you, but may have your same culture. And that's why I tell people, never come up to me, Ron Davis, and say that I'm colorblind. Mr. Davis, I'm colorblind, and feel that you're saying something good to me. I don't want you to be colorblind. I want you to see my color, and I want to see yours. If you're Irish, I want to know about the Irish. If you're Italian, I want to know about the Irish. I want to know about the Italians. If you're Armenian, if you're Persian, I want to know about that. Yeah, there you go. you know, because we have to see each other's immigration, you know, everything that we are, who we are, where we come from. We have to stop looking at ourselves and saying we have to put somebody else down to feel that we're up, you know. But we have the 1%ers that do that on a daily basis to us anyway. We have the Donald Trumps of the world that do that to us all the time. So we don't need to do that to each other. So in this film, what we do is we let a lot of the families, like here, I know in St. Louis, you had the Michael Brown, what happened in Ferguson. I came here to Ferguson, and I had to do the very same thing that Tracy Martin did to me. I had to come over to Mike, and I have to welcome into a club that nobody wants to be a member. And that was heartbreaking for me to say that to him and to go to his son's funeral. And I text him, and we text back and forth today. He had something else today to do, but he wants to see this film. And so many other families, Trayvon's family and Oscar Grant out in California, John Crawford at the Walmart, all these families that we have to go around and we have these speeches and panels with these families because we wanted to get into everybody's head that this racism from the white supremacists tearing this country apart. You know, they're not wearing those cute little funny little pointy hats anymore and burning crosses, but what they're doing is they're infiltrating law enforcement. They're putting on badges and having blue uniforms. And as someone pointed out to me, well, they're good cops. They are. I have cops that are my friends. They are good cops. But you're not going to be a good cop when you see bad cops doing bad things and you don't report bad cops doing bad things. Then you're not a good cop. So if you want to be a good cop, then when you see things like Walter Scott in South Carolina getting shot 6 times in the back, and that same cop put a taser next to his body, and you're the cop sitting there, and you don't put that in your report, then don't consider yourself a good cop. We need all cops to be good cops, and then we'll respect every cop that we come across.
Exactly.